Never find where you are. Won't be 'cause I never see why you're so afraid that you are away from me. You're so afraid that you are away from me.
Hi, everyone. We're back with Stigma Does Not Define Us, a podcast by Mental Health. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we have a really interesting guy, someone who said he's living the dream, which not a lot of us can say, but his name is Steve. He's from London. He is a graffiti artist, a tattoo artist. You need to check out his Instagram page, and a DJ. And he's here to talk to us about all of his mental health struggles. Even though he's living the dream, there's still some things that can sneak in, and he's going to talk to us about his history, and he's going to talk to us about what he does to manage through those dark times. Steve, I'm going to bring you in here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hope you're all
well. Thanks for joining us. I do appreciate you taking the time. I know there's a big time difference between Boston and London. Steve, we'd like to just talk about what you're doing at the moment. Just what are you up to? What's the average week for Steve?
Average week for me is generally hurting lots of people, and they pay me loads of money and then come back and see me again another time for me to hurt them some. Got several different graffiti projects on the go at the moment, a few t-shirt designs coming out for a clothing brand, and just playing music. And
wow,
yeah, everything's all evolves around music and art, so it's nice and easy.
I love that. I love that. Tell me, pardon me. I'm going to make you bigger there so people can see you. Tell me about your history, your struggle. Where did that struggle with mental health begin? Were you a young man? Was there an event?
It's probably been my entire life because of the tough upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholic parents, lots of violence, drug
mm-hmm.
abuse, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Culminated in me becoming incredibly unwell because of drug and alcohol abuse back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up with liver failure in hospital, and I had to make a decision then. If I wanted to live, then I'd have to stop everything. And I've been sober 24 years now.
Wow, congratulations.
It was a journey in itself, but as a result of the drug and alcohol abuse from the past, that does exacerbate the mental health side of things dramatically.
Right.
So I've had a couple of incidents in my life of severe depression.
Mm-hmm.
Once 15 years ago, and then I had another about 18 months ago.
Okay.
Prior to the COVID lockdown in the UK.
Right. So that's actually one of our questions that we send along. Tell us about the pandemic. Was that something that made things worse for you or better?
To be honest, I didn't really have much of a memory of it at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What happened?
My breakdown was prior to all of that coming about. It was in the sort of February time.
Okay.
I had a number of different incidents in my life that really affected me emotionally and mentally. The last one being one of my best friends dying from a brain tumor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I sat with him for the last 5 days of his life. And that's
sorry.
what tipped me over the edge.
Yeah. Well, understandably, that's a very rough thing to be part of. I'm sorry to hear that. So tell us, what was it that finally motivated you to be like, I got to do better than this. I need to feel better than this. I need to turn a corner. What happened?
I think what it was I was doing therapy anyway, because I felt like I needed to deal with all the stuff in the basement, all the issues from childhood. You've got to ask yourself the questions you don't really want to answer.
Yeah.
And so I was doing the therapy beforehand. Then the breakdown came.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because of the therapy. I've taken off that suit of armor that I put on to protect myself from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, made myself vulnerable, which opened me up for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, to be fair, as hard as it was and as difficult it was the best thing that could have happened. Because I didn't really have much of a choice. I had to deal with it. Otherwise, it would just take me under, and I wasn't going to do that.
Right. Now, was there anyone in your circle of friends or family when you were struggling? Did they know? Did you hide it?
No one knew.
No one knew.
Because the fake armor that I used to wear was always happy-go-lucky. Let's make a joke out of life and everything around me. So no one knew what was going on. My concern, which was founded in the end, was the medication that they put me on actually has a side effect of causing suicidal thoughts. And 2 days after taking the tablets, I was going to attempt suicide. But because of the way I was feeling, I went and sought help. I went to my son.
Oh, you did? How was he when you approached him?
Very shocked, but he was very supportive.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to take care of his dad, but I think the shock of him seeing me like I was too much for him.
Yeah. I'm sure it was, especially if you're putting up that facade and everything. So in England, I know over here in the US, I have to say, I think men seeking out mental health is a little more, there's a little less of a stigma around here. Do you feel like in England, there's still a stigma for men to have to say, hey, I need help, I'm depressed, I feel suicidal?
Very much so. Very much so. I think a lot of men in this country, they've still got that stiff upper lip British attitude. I've got to be the alpha male and be all big and strong, but really at the end of the day, they're not.
Right.
I think the strongest, most powerful, bravest people are the people that actually face up to what they've got to deal with. It takes a lot of courage to do it, but once they've done it, they realise that, well, for me personally, it was the easiest option in the end. It was the hardest part to step through that door and face up to these things, but once it was started, then it's an easy direction to go in.
Sure. Now, how about your physical health? I know there is science that proves, if you're full of negative thoughts, negative environment, that your physical health will fail. Did you tell me about, were you diagnosed with anything as a result of being in that negative space as a younger man, or did you become very thin, or any disorders? And I know you mentioned that alcoholism, but which of course in and of itself is going to have a physical effect. But other than that, were you diagnosed with any physical ailments?
Not as such diagnosed with anything, but I did lose about 2.5 stone in weight.
Oh, really?
I think the side effect of it for me was, I suppose it was a self-loathing, self-hatred, and this inability to eat food. I suppose it was a form of self-harming in a way. So I dramatically lost a lot of weight. But to be fair, the lockdown itself probably proved to be the best thing that could have happened at the time.
I'm hearing that.
Because all I could do was just sit in front of the TV eating sausage sandwiches all day. So
gain some weight back.
Put a lot of weight back on.
Yeah, that's good. Tell me about, you said you had therapy. Tell me about that first day walking in and sitting with the therapist. How did that feel?
My initial approach to the therapy was for me to deal with my eating disorder that I felt I had, because I wasn't eating properly and I was incredibly thin. And so I was constantly trying to force myself to eat. And I sought out a therapist that actually specialised in eating disorders, because I didn't think I had a disorder as such, but I thought if she can specialise in helping me to sort my appetite out, then I'll be able to sort other things out.
Right. And that's true. That's absolutely true. Every disorder, there's There's a reason behind it. There's a root to it, and that typically
Yeah.
gets uncovered for sure. Now, the medication that you initially started with gave you that suicidal thoughts. Was there a different medication, or did they switch it around to something that clearly wasn't giving you that feeling?
I'm not sure, because 15 years ago when I was ill, I was prescribed citalopram.
Okay.
And that worked 15 years ago. So I just mentioned that to the doctor, and he prescribed that to me, even though that I'd gone to see him and I'd said to him that I was feeling incredibly low, felt like I didn't want to be here anymore, suicidal thoughts and so on. And that's where I find it's a bit frightening, because he was willing to prescribe me a medication that has a side effect of causing suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that at the time, because obviously the state of mind that I was in. But to be honest, I think that they're general practitioners. That means they're not specialists in that field. They're just general knowledge, as it were. So I feel like, especially over here in this country, there needs to be a much bigger support network around mental health, especially within men.
Yeah, no, that's what we're after for sure.
Definitely.
Well, that's interesting to hear. I know I'm a nurse, and so there's always side effects. There's always, 1% or 0.5% will suffer from this or that. I don't think it's possible to get away from any side effects. And with, medications for depression, anxiety, there's many. So sometimes you have to shift around and find the right one that's for you.
That's right. Yeah.
As I'm interviewing men, I am finding, especially in England, that there does seem to be a resistance to treating depression or anxiety with medication. Do you find that that's true? That people want to stay away from that?
I think it's more of a combination. It's got to be a state of mind as well, and how you're treating yourself and looking after yourself, as well as the medication. Because I don't think the medication is a cure.
You're right. That is correct. Yeah. So
I think that the ability to be able to talk about what it is that's really the core root problem.
Right.
Looking after yourself, eating well, training, finding pleasure in the littlest of things, as well as the medication, is the way forward.
Right. And so your point is the combination. It's never just one modality. It's several things. I think
definitely
when someone's in crisis or in their darkest moments, especially if they're considering suicide, I want to encourage people to be open to medication, just to keep them above that level of darkness, so that they can go to therapy and find out those other modalities, just so they're even willing to. Because when you're that dark, sometimes you're not even willing to. So I do think medication's appropriate for a time. And then if the other therapies or modalities of coping help you, then you can wean off those things. Steve, did you try, so other than therapy, tell us what other things you mentioned working out. What other types of things helped you?
Well, being a tattoo artist and graffiti artist, that's definitely sort of like a bit of a saving grace for me.
Yeah.
I think some of the most frightening pieces of artwork I've created are probably when I've been at my darkest.
Interesting.
But even then, it's all bright and colourful anyway. So I'm still trying to find a light even in my darkest moments. So I feel like art was probably the most important factor in my life.
So the creativity.
I was able to just lose myself and drawing in sketchbooks or painting canvases, painting walls, inking skin.
Wow.
And do it at the same time with listening to music.
Yeah.
I've read a few different books as well.
I was just about to ask you about authors. Tell me about some of your books that you loved, or authors that you loved.
There's two books that I can't remember the authors for. One book is called Siddhartha.
Okay.
It's actually the story of Buddha prior to him becoming the Buddha. He's actually Prince Shakyamuni he's a Hindu. He's quite high up in the caste, and he couldn't understand the caste system. So he turned his back on the religion and went on a journey of enlightenment. And it's that journey, that's what the book's about.
Okay.
So there's certain elements of it. It's not a very thick book. It's quite an easy read. And yeah, I found that quite spiritually uplifting, because it just covers emotions that we would feel trying to make our own way through life. Another book that I've read is The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. It's a
Okay.
story about a lawyer from the States who gave up everything and sold everything and went off to the Tibetan mountains and became a monk. And it's his
Wow.
journey through that. It's actually written by him. So all you've got to do is type in The Monk That Sold His Ferrari and you'll find that book, because it's quite a unique title.
Okay. Yeah, we're
And
going to put
then
those up at the end.
the last book that I've read was The Way of the Wu by RZA from Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay.
It's a hip hop artist,
Yeah.
but it's a very enlightening book
That's
because
so
you're reading about
interesting.
his life prior,
Yeah.
what he's done in order for him to motivate himself and move forward. So that's a really, really good book as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's not what I would have expected. So I'm going to check that out. At the end, I always put up the books. We always ask the author question, and I will put up a picture of each book. So anybody watching can certainly use those resources. Funny question. Do you have any favorite movies, favorite quotes, favorite fictional characters that helped lighten
Yeah, Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, Batman. Batman Begins. It's not just what's inside that counts, it's what you do that defines you.
Yeah.
That's one of the best quotes of all time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, who's your favorite Batman?
Oh, definitely Christian Bale.
Yep. That's usually
Yeah,
the
none
one.
of the others. It doesn't matter who they are.
Yep.
They can even get Tom Hardy in now, and it still wouldn't make any difference. Christian Bale's always the best Batman.
That's great. That's great. Oh my goodness, Steve. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to share with us? I mean, I can just see it in your face. You have such a, I don't know, a light spirit about you. You know what I'm saying? You're smiling and you just seem great. And I think what I love so much is it's the creativity. Everything you're doing is a creative outlet. The tattoos, the graffiti, the being a DJ, the music. And I think what I want people to hear, especially about the way you cope with some of those dark times, is if anybody has any creative niche, even if it's the smallest thing, writing, if you ever, one day I want to paint, one day I want to do this, that the creative outlet for you has been a huge, huge piece of, in a way, getting that darkness out and putting it somewhere else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think my advice that I would give to anyone that's struggling would be just reach out.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone, even if you're standing at a bus stop and you're just talking to someone that doesn't even know you.
Yeah.
If they're willing to listen, they'll listen. You can just talk about stuff.
Right.
There's this one thing that I've always tried to do since all of this started, and it's create some element of a brother circle.
Yes.
It's you especially, it's all right for me because of the work that I do. I get to meet people all the time. A lot of people say that they feel like they've had a therapy session when they've been in to see me. But I don't know, maybe I did a degree in therapeutic communications years ago when I was working with young kids, and I use art therapy as my medium. So when I'm doing the tattoo work, I'm always chatting, and people end up telling me their life story and whatever issues they've got and so on. And, you know, I've got to also consider the transition of anything that they say. But generally it's handed back to them, but I make them feel like they're worth something, that it was worth them listening, for me to listen to them, so that they've got a bit more of a belief in who they are so they can move forward. And so it's almost like I've got like this invisible brother circle where all these chaps are coming in now and getting their tattoos done. But at the same time, they're talking about issues in life and this and that and the other. And I'll just slip in a little pearl of wisdom from time to time.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm spreading the love.
I have no doubt you are. I mean, you have an empathic way about you. I can tell that you're probably a little intuitive. I'm betting you can kind of sense when somebody's in a tough place, you know, and the compassion, because you've been through those dark places. I'm sure you know just what to say to make them feel like they're not alone. I know my hairdresser says the same thing, and it's interesting. So there you are, you know, doing your tattooing, and so that person's right there. She says the same thing. She goes, "You wouldn't believe all the life stories."
That's right. And it's gone are the days where you can actually say to me, "Have you gone on holiday recently?" Because no one's been on holiday, have they?
Right. No, they haven't. They haven't. That's so true. Oh, I can't wait to get back to normal. So, Steve, thank you so much for your time. You just have a very light, you glow. You're brilliant, really. You have a very light way about you. I want to encourage people. I'm going to put up your contact information to go look at your tattoo art. Also, I'm going to ask you to send me some of your favorite graffiti, because I want to put that up at the end too, just to see how beautiful that is. Because anywhere I go, when I've seen graffiti, it is amazing to me, the color and how bright it is, and just the artistic ability is really quite something. So yeah, we would love to see that. Anything else on our way out? Do you have a closing thought or any other piece of advice you want to offer?
My only thing would be that if you see someone struggling, don't be afraid to go up to them and ask them if they're okay.
Yeah. That's
usually when you catch them on the hoof like that, they haven't got a way out, they haven't got an escape, so they end up talking. Yeah. Don't be frightened because they're feeling low, and don't take no for an answer when you can see it clear as day that they're struggling.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. And that just leads me to my closing comment, is that every human has some empathic ability, some intuition, some ability to read each other. And I have to say to everyone, if you get that gut feeling like, I feel like something's just not right with my friend or this family member, that yes, you're not wrong. Your gut is usually right. And yes, absolutely, please do go up.
It's always right. That was our first instinct back in the days when we were cavemen. We had to trust in our gut instinct. So that's never disappeared.
No, it certainly hasn't. And I've, gone out of my way to really develop that, heighten that, and, be paying attention. It's funny, people have said the same thing to me after talking to you. I feel like I'm in the therapy, which is, why I was so excited to do this, because as I said earlier, when I'm hearing the resistance over in England for men to ask, that makes me sad, because there needs to be space for men everywhere to say, hey, I'm not okay and I need help, and to
that is very true.
Do better and paint the world the way you're doing.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, if I can put a bit of light into someone's life, then I'll do what I can.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. You're lovely. And do send me all those things. Your favorite pieces of graffiti and your favorite tattoos. We'd love to see them.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on board.
Thanks so much. You have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Stay blessed. Bye for now.